Joe talks about Joe. And now, your host, Joe Slepsky.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Joe on Joe. It is me, your host, Joe Slepsky, and it's another exciting week of Joe on Joe Illustrated, where we talk about every issue of G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, the comic book that hit the shelves, page by page, panel by panel, starting with the cover, going all the way through to the letters page. Excruciating detail, and I hope you guys enjoy it. If you're a new listener, go back to the archives. We applied the same level of detail to every episode of the Sunbow animated show and the DIC show, and even Extreme! That's right. We've been doing this for quite a while, and I appreciate everyone who's along for the ride, especially our sponsors, the good people at the Movies and the Meal podcast.
Listeners, I know what you need in your life. You need more podcasts, and you also love movies. So why not do a podcast that's about not one movie, it's about not two movies, it's about 3 movies and a meal. I'm talking the Movies and a Meal podcast. This show is great. It's brought to you by Keith, Brad, and Ben, and each week they bring a new movie to the table, which they all discuss as a group. And it's not, your highfalutin movies. It's What We Do in the Shadows, The Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer, and Out of Sight. It's Bad Education, Ghost Rider, and A View to a Kill. It's X-Men Last Stand, Queen Sugar, The Mandalorian, and Major League 2. They are a lot of fun to listen to. You guys know Ben. It's our friend Ben Pensarga. He was a guest on Joe and Joe. In fact, Ben was the very first remote guest that I ever had on this podcast, so he's always got a special place in my heart. I'm really digging this. I just started listening to it last week. It is a lot of fun. They bring a guest in. The guest, I listened to their Heathers episode. They were joined by Kelly, and she went in depth on her favorite movie, which was Heathers, and it made me want to go watch Heathers to watch with them. I really dig it. So guys, find them out there at Movies and a Meal, Twitter, Instagram. Their website is moviesandameal.podbean.com. They put out 1 episode a week. Give them a listen, guys. Support them. Let them know Joe on Joe sent you. I don't think you're going to be disappointed. It is quite entertaining. And now back to the show.
So while you're on the internet subscribing to the Movies and the Meal podcast, please go to my social medias at Joe and Joe Pod. It's on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. You can send me an email to joeandjoepod@gmail.com. Let me know what you think of the show. Please remember to rate and review me on any of your various podcatcher apps or however you're listening to the show. Even if you're just hearing it because your grandma is listening to the show. Tell grandma, hey, I like the sound of that show, grandma. Can I rate it 5 stars on your personal gramophone? And she'll be like, absolutely, Sonny. So I appreciate that. And it's so much. And speaking of podcasts, I want to take a moment this week to talk about one that always meant a lot to me. And a couple of weeks ago, we lost the comedian Gilbert Cotford. And he ran a podcast called Gilbert Cotford's Amazing Colossal Podcast, along with co-host Frank Santopadre. And it was a weekly delight for the ears. I'm telling you, it was an absolute wonder of a show. They talked to every old Hollywood star, B-star, supporting member that was still alive. Like their youngest guest was maybe in his 60s. Like they talked to all of old Hollywood. They were always talking about Hollywood monsters and old horror movies and genre stuff. It was a real treat for anyone who likes that stuff. Anyone who's a fan of comedy. And, occasionally they would have like more modern comedians on and they would get into like the nitty gritty of comedy. But by and large, 75% of the show was talking to people who were in Hollywood in the heyday, who had their big days in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s. And you'd hear ridiculous, crazy, fun stories. But it was never a boring listen. And Gilbert passed a couple weeks ago now. I just want to say that his last show, actually, I listened to it the other day, came out. It was a 2-parter with the great Brenda Vaccaro. Brenda Vaccaro, Supergirl, the movie fame, and so much more. But it was lovely and it was touching. And I don't often talk about like other podcasts that I listen to on the show or whatever, but I know I have mentioned this in the past, just as far as stuff that they've referenced or brought up. But that was a real favorite of mine. So, and I'm sure there's a lot of you out there that also listen to it and were also bummed out. by Gilbert's passing. But that show was a real special show, and we're gonna miss it, and we're gonna miss him. And do yourself a favor, if you've never listened to it, give it a listen. Go, they're still there, so subscribe. Go grab a few episodes, and I think you'll enjoy it. Especially if you like all those genre things, old horror and things like that. So it's really great. So I just want to put a little shout out there. Rest in peace. And yeah. So back to the Joe stuff. Back to the special G.I. Joe stuff. So we're talking about G.I. Joe 124 today, and this is the follow up to 123, but the introduction of the group that I ran an official Twitter poll for. So last week you heard me get caught up in the pronunciation battle between Eco Warriors and Echo Warriors, and I'm happy to say I was wrong, because I think I always said Echo, but Eco Warriors, like Eco, like Eco Warriors won. So I'm going to do my best, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, thank you for everyone who participated in that poll on Twitter. That was awesome. I'm going to do my best to pronounce it Eco Warriors, because I swear to you, I said Echo Warriors for the first 46 years of my life. So we're gonna roll into that sweet 47, saying Echo Warriors. Echo, yeah, Eco. No, Echo is. See, I did it again. Echo is what I said. So we're gonna say Eco, Eek, like Eek the cat. So Eco Warriors is how this show is going forward. So thanks a lot, listeners. I appreciate everybody. And you know what else I appreciate?
You were saying?
Other comic books that were on the stands. And we're going to start with Marvel comic books. This is May of 1992. It's the month that G.I. Joe 124 was on the stands. And look at this. You thought, as I'm recording this, we're on the precipice of another big Marvel movie release. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness is about to drop, and everyone's talking Marvel again, and Marvel. But back in the day, nobody was talking about Captain America the movie in 1992, because it was terrible. If you've never seen it, you should. It stars Catcher in the Rye, Salinger. It stars J.D. Salinger's son, Matt Salinger, as Captain America. And the Red Skull is no longer a German Nazi. He is an Italian fascist, which doesn't make any sense. I think because they got to shoot in Italy, so they just cast him that way. It was crazy. And the Captain America, the movie, the comic book translation came out this month rather. And I have it. It's a fun Captain America as a comic book goes. It's fun because it's a Captain America beating the crap out of an Italian Red Skull. But the movie is terrible. However, you should see it, because it really shows how far we've come. Not just with Marvel movies, but with any. I'm not a big fan of the Snyderverse movies, but any of the Snyder DC movies are better than the stuff that we used to get. So Captain America, the movie translation, was on the stand the same month as this book. What else do we got? Oh, the Silver Surfer shows up in Guardians of the Galaxy, and this was neat. This was literally, it was the real Silver Surfer, and it was 1,000 years from now, and he was like this advanced cosmic being, because he had still stayed the Silver Surfer for 1,000 years. So he showed back up. I really did like that series. I feel like I need to revisit it. I haven't read it since I got the comics, and I got the comics, I want to say, in like 1999. I'm pretty sure I got them when I remember where I was living when I got like a big collection of this off of eBay, early eBay, and that would have been like 99, maybe 2000 at the latest. So it's been probably 20 years since I read these books, but but I remember them being fun in that way of playing with Marvel continuity, and and what would it look like in 1,000 years, things like that, which always it's a big selling point for this guy. Speaking of Captain America, he's having a month. He crossed over into NFL Super Pro number 8. Mark your calendars for that one. We have another Quasar special. Again, we talked about that last month. It's for the Operation Galactic Storm crossover. So you have Quasar 34 and Quasar Special number 3. What else here? One of the early Marvel trades, the Assassination Plot, which was the final run that had Eddie McFarlane art on it. And this was Sabretooth and Silver Sable and things like that. So again, another one of the early actual trade collections that Marvel put out back in the day. Wonder Man number 9, the Negabomb goes up. This is part of the Galactic Storm crossover. One, I love the Wonder Man series. I think it's a lot of fun. And that Negabomb, that was what froze the Skrulls in whatever form they were in at the time. The bomb went off. It was like a intergalactic bomb kind of a thing. So basically, it was like dropping a nuke, on Hiroshima or Nagasaki, and it had repercussions for a long time. Like a long time, they would show Skrulls were still pissed off about what happened with the Negabomb. So yeah, that I believe explodes in issue number 9, at least according to the cover it does. X-Men Annual number 1. This is the Jim Lee X-Men. Bishops in full force over in issue number 8. Remember, he was still an unknown quantity at the time. They didn't know who to trust. Remember, he was the big thing with him was like in the future there was it was obviously Gambit, but they called him the mysterious the what did they call him? He was like the Traveler or something like that. But it was obviously just old Gambit sitting on a throne telling them what to do. And Gambit was supposed to be a spy, that Gambit was a traitor, and so Bishop thought Gambit was a traitor, and this that's what this issue is. Gambit's getting shot by Bishop's energy, because in the future that guy sold him out or something like that. There's so many plot threads from the X-Men from that era. Sometimes when I try to go reread those, it's kind of a mess. It's really kind of a mess. Sometimes it's hard to look back on some of your favorite childhood stuff. I mean, I like it to a point, but then you go, oh yeah, it was kind of wild. Speaking of kind of wild, unrelated to this stuff, and it wasn't on this month. I recently read, in regards to Larry Hama, I read a the Wolfpack graphic novel that came out of Marvel, and it came out a few years before this. There was a mention of it in a back issue magazine that I was reading. And so that kind of piqued my interest. And so I saw a copy and snagged it real quick to read it. And it's Ron Wilson did the artwork, and it's so great because it reads very much like a Larry Hama comic. And it's about a bunch of New York street kids, in the mid 80s. And, they're fighting like a ninja. There's ninja stuff in it, just like Larry was writing in G.I. Joe. And each kid had their specialty. And each kid was from a different family background, African American, Hispanic. I think there was an Asian American kid, and then like a Latina girl, something like that. Like it was like everyone kind of they checked all the boxes, and then they fought against the 9. So it was kind of neat. I've never read the series, and I know they put a trade out with all the series and the graphic novel included for Wolfpack, but it did make me want to kind of seek that out. But that was Larry related, so I thought I'd bring that up.
You were saying?
I was saying let's look at what was coming out of DC in May of 1992. Well, what do we got here? We've got a bunch of Star Trek comics. 3 different Star Trek comics. Star Trek Annual 3, Star Trek, which was the original series, Volume 2, number 31, and The Next Generation, number 31. So they relaunched at the same time. Who's Who is all the way up. They're doing Who's. They did Who's Who in the Impact comic universe. And there were 3 editions of it. There was so much Impact. And Impact is what DC called the old Red Circle. It's books like The Web. What else? There was another one I was just looking at. Jaguar, The Fly, The Comet, The Mighty Crusaders, or just The Crusaders. And they were the old Red Circle Archie comic superhero group that has bounced from publisher to publisher over the years. And this was DC's effort at bringing some life into those guys. Some good creators worked on those Impact books. I know Chris Sprouse did, and I think either Mark Waid or Brian Augustine wrote on them. I've never enjoyed them. I mean, I've read a few of them, and they're fine. I mean, they're fine, but they never really lit the world on fire. This is a fun special. It's Wonder Woman special number 1, and it's Wonder Woman fighting Deathstroke the Terminator. Now, why they did this as a special, I don't recall. But it's got a cool cover of Wonder Woman duking it out with Deathstroke. And this was early, really early, frankly, in Deathstroke's career. So I don't remember Deathstroke fighting Wonder Woman prior to this. So that's always neat to see. Let's see. Lobo's back, number 1. I just recently read Lobo versus the Mask, like the green-faced Jim Carrey Mask character. That was a lot of fun. It was dumb, and it was, it's just big cartoon stuff, but it was pretty cool. Like, it was Doug Mahnke did the art, and it was really fun and detailed and just like a comic book cartoon come to life. And having the Mask sit on Lobo and just the things he did were fabulous. So that was a lot of fun. Oh, this is neat. And this probably, looking over this month, this is probably the best stuff that came out this month, is in the Flash, 62 and 63. It's Mark Waid doing Kid Flash, Wally West's year 1. So this was Wally's book, remember? Barry had been dead for, 60 issues, so it's at 5 years. Barry had been dead since Crisis. And this is them kind of retelling Wally's origin, literally giving him a year 1 story. And I think it ran 4 issues, but it was great. It was really well done, told excellently, very enjoyable, and set the tone for the rest of Wade's run in the series. So that's really good. If you can find those books, it's like 62, 63, I think 64 and 65, maybe. It might have gone 6 issues. Pick those up because they're really worth a read. It's nice. I mean, I know they've collected it in a trade, but I don't think that trade is currently in print. But the issues should be pretty cheap, like $3 a piece to pick up. So do those if you get your hands on it.
You were saying?
Well, no, I wasn't saying. I was.
Now, mass is ready.
That's right. Mass is ready. So here we are, G.I. Joe 124. Triple action. There is a really cool, very nice storytelling technique in this issue. We always talk about how Larry likes to balance 3 different plots, right? I've said this many times. And it's usually, like out of a 22-page story, I don't know off the top of my head, it's usually like, like let's say 15 pages, or what have I said, like 16, or something like 15 pages for the main story. Maybe you get 4 pages for the B story, and then like 2 or 3 pages for the C story. And it's a setup, and it's a rotating, it's usually it's like a rotating thing. And then as the A story wraps up, the B story takes prominence, and then the C story moves into that B slot, and so on and so forth. I'm pretty sure I've seen him talk about that, but I know I've seen other Marvel writers at the time talk about it, and specifically, I think I remember an old interview with Mark Grunwald talking about that. And I apologize if I'm getting all of that details wrong, but oh no, I'm sorry. You know what I'm thinking of? I'm thinking of Paul Levitz, but I'm fairly sure I've read interviews with Larry, but I know specifically the interviews I'm thinking of were Paul Levitz, that's how he would deal with Legion of Superheroes, because that had such a huge cast, which is very pertinent to what G.I. Joe is. And whether my brain is getting confused and saying whether I've read it from Larry or not, we know by reading this, that is how Larry would deal with these stories. The A plot would get the majority, for the most part. A plot would get the majority of the story, say 14 to 16 pages or whatever. The B plot would get a third, and then the C plot would get a couple pages of setup, right? And then it would rotate. So this is a cool change because every story gets 1/3 of the book, and it's all concurrent, and it all happens at the same time on the same page, very often in synchronizing actions. As far as rising and dipping of who's on top in the fights, good versus evil, so to speak. So it's really nice. It's a fun read. So the cover is triple action, triple threat. Got an Andrew Wildman cover, and I don't know what this is supposed to be though. On this cover, is it a photo with 3 pictures? But you got a picture of the headman and Cesspool, And is that Slice or Dice? The Red Ninja, Slice or Dice? Slice, I think. And they're on what like might be like a photo, so I'm not sure what the setting of this image is, but it works really well for the action that we're going to see reflected in the story. So I like that. It's close-ups of their face and stuff. Probably the last cover I think that Headman would really ever be on.
Yo, Joe!
And it's called Triptych. And we open with a pretty cool, I'm all for this. It's like one head, but it's split into three. You got left, center, and right. And their eyes all match up. The bridges of their nose match up. And on the left, you've got, who would it be? Bulletproof. And he's saying, he's in Broca Beach, New Jersey. Although I would say from this image, you don't exactly know who that is yet. In the middle, you've got in the Gulf of Mexico, it's Flint. Now we know that. You wouldn't know that from this either, too. We know that from the next page. And it's Flint in his Eco Warriors, I'm saying that right, outfit. And then on the right side of this Triptych head is Storm Shadow. And that's something you could easily identify. And I like it. Like all their eyes match up, but yet they're different. Like this is a cool picture. And Storm Shadow's in Transcarpathia. Remember, we left the ninjas there fighting Slice and Dice, and the Red Ninjas in the swamps, jungles, forest. Well, I wouldn't call it jungles really, but like the swamp area, and all the fog and everything. And remember, Snake Eyes had taken the what presumably was the head ninja, the most ornate looking ninja. Snake Eyes had put a knife to his throat.
Yo, Joe!
So we get 3 horizontal drawings, and all 3 take place in Broca Beach. Then the middle is in Gulf of Mexico, and then the bottom is in Transcarpathia. And that is pretty much the format for the rest of the book. They break it right away in the next page, but they break it for the other rhythm of the book too. So the first set of action is always going to be in Broca Beach. And remember from last time, we left it with the Drug Enforcement Agency, or the Drug Enforcement Force, rather. They were going to be called into Broca because of all the drugs. Remember the Crimson Guard, the Fred series Crimson Guard guy went nuts and was like, I'm going to kill you all. And then he got shot by the headman. And the middle section is the Gulf of Mexico with Flint. And he's heading to, with the new Eco Warriors team to stop Cesspool and his sludge factories. And then back in Transcarpathia, we're still wrapping up the Ninja Force, who really haven't done much in the last 4 issues, but stand around and have fights with red ninjas. Anyway, but that's where we're at. So it's, again, very much like a lot of these opening books. It's a whole lot of exposition up top to make sure that the readers know exactly who's in play, where they're in play, and what they're up to. Oh, and real quick, we forgot from the first page, Larry Hama is the writer, Andrew Wildman pencils, Randy Emberlin inks, Rick Parker lettering, Bob Sharon coloring. Welcome Hildy Mesnick as the editor, and Tom DeFalco editor-in-chief. I don't know. I have absolutely no idea whose idea it was to do this three-part storytelling chapter, but this is her first book, her first edit of G.I. Joe, and that's a bold move to make. It really is. So, you know what? It's kind of like quarterbacking. You'll get the credit. So I like it, and so good on you, Hildy Mesnick. So we're back here on page 2, and in Broca Beach, Shockwave's there. Who I love Shockwave. He's great. And these guys are all part of the DEF, right? You've got Cutter in his shirtless look. I've always thought of Cutter as an older dude because, like he's like, like he captains the whale, and like he's not like a young, I want to walk around without a shirt on dude. And yet here we are, Cutter version 2. Just give me a life vest. I don't need a shirt. Look out, world. And then of course Bulletproof is there, and Mutt. And this is literally the 1992 series page come to life. Mutt and Junkyard, they're in their DEF looks. And then down in the Gulf of Mexico, we've got Flint in the center in his really kind of terrible green outfit from the Eco Warriors. Yeah, boy, that's really a look, Flint. Barbecue. Let's see, barbecue deep six. Oh no, that would have been so that would have been last year's. That would have been 91's Eco Warriors, right? Yeah, so this would have been the previous year. This would have been their look in 91. So Larry was a year late in getting them out. Wow, Eco Warriors did 2 years. So this is Flint and Clean Sweep and Ozone, right? And Eco Warriors must have been such a hit that they thought it was going to be, that the next year in 92 they did the Toxo Zombies, which are kind of cool. And then they did a Deep Six and they did a Barbecue as part of the Eco team. That's crazy. So those three are heading into the Gulf of Mexico on those tiny battle copters. And then over in Transcarpathia, we got the ninjas, and they're surrounded by red ninjas. And this is the same guys, Budo and Shebang and Dice, and squaring off against Slice and Dice and Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes, etc.
Yo, Joe!
And now this is where they break the format, but it works really well because it's it goes 3 pages straight of splash pages. So we get a nice splash page to kind of it's like setting the scene with the drug enforcement agents, the drug enforcement force busting down a drug lab door where Headman and his headmasters, what are they? They're called the head hunters. They're counting cash and cutting coke and doing whatever they're doing in there. So it's a 1-page splash of them breaking down this door, right?
Yo, Joe!
And then you get a 1-page splash of down in the Gulf of Mexico. Not my favorite rendition of like ocean water and like an ocean attack. This is really hatchy, but it is what it is. Between the rotors and the waves chopping in the water, there's a lot. I guess I want heavier blacks on the inks for the ocean here, just to kind of make that sit still a little more, so you keep the action on the rotors and the drug. But what the image is the Eco Warriors flying overhead a Cobra sludge factory, and the sludge factory actually looks remarkably like the G.I. Joe Air Sea land platform, which I have a feeling was on purpose. They didn't do a sludge. No, they didn't do a sludge platform. I don't think they did. Oh, how crazy would that be if they did, though? Maybe they were thinking about it, and maybe that's what this was supposed to be. They were going to rebrand the Air Sea land platform into a sludge factory. How crazy would that? Does anyone know about that? Would that have been a thing? I've never seen that, so I'm fairly positive I'm making that up right now. But could that possibly be what we're looking at here? Because this really does look like if someone were to draw the G.I. Joe Air Sea platform, which was awesome, one of my favorite toys, so versatile. This does look like what you would draw if you were converting that into a Cobra sludge factory.
Yo, Joe!
And then in Transcarpathia, you kind of flip the camera angle. So previously, the camera was high above looking down. Now the camera flips to the ground and looks straight up, Storm Shadow's crotch, into Snake Eyes in the tree. So I love that flip of the camera. And if you start in the beginning, if you go back to the drug page, the camera's square on. So then you go square on all the way up top, and now you're at worm's eye view, and you're looking up, and you see that Snake Eyes has his sword against the red ninja leader's throat. And I don't think they've named him. I don't know if they ever do, but yeah. So there's some fun with perspectives in this, and I really appreciate that.
Yo, Joe!
Now we're back to the 3-part. On each page, and they are all these are horizontal, evenly spaced horizontal grids. And what's neat is the middle, the Eco Warrior stuff is the borders are juicy. It's like they're water or sludge. It's like flowing water that creates the framework of the panel. And then the framework on the panel for the ninjas are bamboo. It's a bamboo border. And then for the drug stuff, it's traditional comic book, just a traditional, square line or rectangular line or whatever. So there's nothing fancy about that, but that really separates the 3 so that you're in different places. That's really smart of them to do that. Not only is it fun artistically, but it's also, it reminds your head without saying it that you're dealing with 3 different storylines. So we go, and the drug agents are reading their rights. Cesspool is upset that he's getting attacked by the Joes, and Slice is attacking Snake Eyes up in the tree.
Yo, Joe!
And the other thing you get when you do these 3 in 1 pages, right, is you don't have as much time for minutia in the storytelling. So you tend to be more snapshot of the best action, which is nice. And it's a real throwback, actually, to, like old school comic books before the era of decompression, which this certainly is not in the era of decompression. We won't be there until late 90s, I think. But this is still the era of, this is getting to the era of lots of action poses just for the sake of action poses, right? Decompression doesn't really start until you get into the dialogue catching up to it. But it started with pages and pages of fights for no real good reason, right? It's one of the reasons why, and I don't mean to blame Frank Miller for this, but one of the reasons why when Frank Miller did the Wolverine miniseries, and it was panel after panel of Wolverine fighting. Or is it? Am I thinking of Paul? Well, I think both of them actually. But the panel by panel of Wolverine fighting Silver Samurai, and then also Paul Smith did it in the X-Men too, where these elongated panels, and they were taking their time with the fight, and it would be like slash by slash breakdowns of the fight instead of these snapshot moments of the fight. That was really groundbreaking at the time. People really sat up and noticed it. That morphed into the Image era, which also. I can't believe I didn't talk about this earlier when I was talking about the Gilbert Cotford passing. We lost Neil Adams last week, too. That was huge and humongous. And maybe I'll talk about that next week on the show. But that was a massive influence. And Neil did do some G.I. Joe stuff. So it's like all these obituaries. I'm catching up week by week. So we'll talk more about Neil next week. But this storytelling it's like, we'll call it snapshot storytelling, is old school, because they would, you'd have a panel in an office. Then the next panel they'd be down the street doing something else. Then the next panel they'd be halfway around the world and be like, I told you, Superman, we should have came to South America first. They would just do it. And that's what you're getting in this issue because of the lack of time that you have for transitional panels. And there's one page later that proves this point. So Headman shoots Bulletproof right in the chest. One of the Sludge Vipers hits whose helicopter is that? I think it's Flint's helicopter, battlecopter rather. And then Snake Eyes' captive Red Ninja Master gets a sword right through the chest. So this is a great page I'm talking about, where all the action is benefiting the bad guys here. So there's a lot of synchronicity with the action in different locales where the bad guys are taking a lead in the various arguments.
Yo, Joe!
Arguments, gunfights and sword fights are arguments. And we see here that Bulletproof is, as he says, I neglected to tell you, my code name is Bulletproof, just like the vest. If I were Headman, that's when I would just shoot him in the face. I get it. It's not that kind of a comic book. But I feel like they all should be wearing bulletproof vests. If they're not, that's crazy. Even... You're telling me Cutter's giant orange vest is just a life jacket? It's not bulletproof? Then shoot Cutter. I will say this. Junkyard, rather. Mutt, he's Junkyard. Junkyard looks like a hound from hell. That is not a great... I've seen better drawings of a dog. That looks like... Junkyard looks frightening. Flint is hit, and he's going to crash. And Slice proposes single combat for these ninjas because he figures they'll just keep fighting all day. And this feels like just a narrative trick just so that we don't have the same kind of fight issue after issue.
Yo, Joe!
Which is good. I'm very glad for that. So both sides in all these, like this next page is the bad guys kind of recouping and saying, oh no, it's not over yet. So Headman and his crew start shooting back at the drug enforcement crew. The Sludge Viper, or actually Clean Sweep is hitting Flint with his anti-tox sprayer. So he's dousing the toxins. Remember that sludge eats through and is corrosive to metal and things like that. And then we get Snake Eyes is going to challenge Slice. Snake Eyes is going to represent the ninja force. I don't know why you would go up against Snake Eyes at this point. Come on.
Yo, Joe!
Don't you know? Now this is neat. Neat. She ain't gonna last long. Crimson Guardsman Fred's wife comes out of the house, guns blazing, because remember, she murdered his husband. First, you get my son. Remember the son who looked like a 45-year-old roadie for poison. First they got his son hooked on drugs. Then he murdered her husband. She's going to kill the head man herself. And she starts shooting at them. Flint is crashing. And Snake Eyes is beginning his battle against Slice.
Yo, Joe!
And she gone. Mercy. Stretch, get up. I forget what her name was, but Fred's wife, his headman says, your husband was a loser, your son is a loser, and now you're a loser too. And Flint is completely down. His battlecopter is completely out of the air. And Cesspool is telling the Toxo Vipers to finish off the Joes while they're down. And the ninja battle begins in earnest with both warriors kind of jumping and slashing in the air.
Yo, Joe!
And another reason to have the jumping and the slashing, have it be one-on-one combat is because of the storytelling technique. If you had to cram in a 5-on-5 fight and only get one panel each page to tell that fight, it wouldn't be as rich as if you narrow it down to a one-on-one so you can do more with it. This is a page that I'm talking about where they do split the narrative. And so you've got 2 panels for each story and they mirror it in each of the boxes. So there are 2 panels for the drugs, 2 panels for the eco, and 2 panels for the ninjas. Man, that drug addict kid is really a weird looking drawing. But Cutter comes by and she's been shot in the lungs. The Joes are going to go save her. Well, no, half the Joes go to save her, and the other half are chasing down the headman. And you get more sludge action on Cobra Island, or in the Gulf rather. And Snake Eyes and Slice are just having a good old ninja sword fight, parry and so forth.
Yo, Joe!
So Mrs. Fred, she says, I'm the one who called you and tipped you off about the headman. So Shirley is very anti-drug. She's very like, you stop the headman. That's my dog. She's the one that tipped the Joes off about headman and his operation. She wants to save her son. Oh man, could this really be the kid that grew up to be, what's his name? The new Snake Eyes. Is it the same kid? And she's about to tell them what's really going on at Broca Beach. And then you've got some eco warriors chasing, just more fire. There's a lot of firefighting in this. But it's neat though, because you have this and because you have this breakup of the panels, it does keep your attention, even though it is just fight. There's not a ton of like narrative growth moments for anyone. It's just fight, kill Fred's wife.
Yo, Joe!
More chasing at Broca Beach. Cobra is caught in a crossfire. The eco team has kind of enfiladed Cesspool, and Snake Eyes is actually backed up against a tree, and he's about to get a sword run through him. And Slice says, is the great and terrible Snake Eyes struck motionless with dread? Or is he trying to psych me out with apparent ninja calm in the face of imminent extinction? And what's going to happen? We don't know.
Yo, Joe!
So we get a little bit of an expansion on the top panel. And this is neat because you look to the next page. Yeah, this is cool. So you look at the previous page and the Broca Beach panel was short. The middle panel of the eco was larger, and the ninjas were about a third of the page. So now you go here and you get the Broca panel is about half the page, which is roughly the same size as the Eco was in the previous one. And then the Eco is to a third, and the Ninjas are to a third. And then just fast forwarding just a second, the Ninjas get the half panel, and the Eco and the Broca Beach each get the smaller portion. So again, there's this real equanimity of panel and pacing that they achieve with this book. That's spot on. So the drug enforcement agents chase the Cobras the headman. Sorry, he's not Cobra. They chase the headman into this Dante's Inferno haunted house ride. And the Toxo Vipers, they're going to shoot some holes in their own plasma tox tanks. And we're going to find out the next page of what that'll do. And Snake Eyes deftly jumps out of the way of this slice.
Yo, Joe!
So we actually get a 2-page Marvel Master Vision 1-900 number. Call 1-900-420-6622 and play the ultimate Marvel trivia game. Study this mural carefully. Call 1-900. Call that number from a Touchstone foe. You will be charged a flat fee of $3.95. Callers under 18 must have permission. You will have 1 minute and 40 seconds to answer questions related to this mural. You will answer all the questions. I like this. You will answer all the questions by entering either numbers, initials, words, or coordinates on your Touchstone phone. When the answer is a word, enter only the first letter of that word. Coordinates are entered number first letter. There's so many rules here. When locating a single item or character, enter the coordinates of the box in which is predominantly found. Answer 10 or more questions to win. Have a pen ready to write down prize claim number. Did anyone do this? I think I did, or at least I think I wanted to, and I was afraid to call. But it's a Ron Lim drawing, and it's very much Marvel at the time. So you've got Storm and Nova and Silver Surfer and Adam Warlock. The Silver Surfer thing, if they're telling you to punch in a coordinate and what's predominantly the coordinate, Silver Surfer is predominantly in 3 different coordinates, which means you could predominantly answer 2 wrong answers. That's a load of crap. I need to send this back to Ron Lim and have him draw it again. Cannonball, Falcon, Darkhawk, Red Raven's on here, Captain Britain, Iron Man in his gold suit, Iron Man in his Silver Centurion armor, Iron Man in his old school armor, Wonder Man, Human Torch, old school Human Torch, Toro. What else we got here? Icarus from the Eternals, Sunfire, Iron Man in his original armor. We got Vindicator from Alpha Flight, Nova, Dracula, Moon Knight, Morbius, Ikari from the Eternals, Phoenix from Excalibur, Quasar, Cannonball. We say that. Thor. We say that. And then the Gray Dragon is the dragon from the Fantastic Four. Archangel, of course, the Hulk. It's the Dragon Man. Yeah, from Fantastic Four is one of the FF bad guys. So we've identified them all. So now I wonder what those questions were. Interesting. Did anyone call this? If you did, reach out. Let me know. So we see that the guy running the carnival show they're both Cobras, and the headmen aren't Cobra. They're just drug dealers. And the one guy's telling the other guy, hey, we got to help the Joes to get these drug dealers. They're out of control. And the other guy says, yeah, but put the Cobra assault rifle away. We can't blow our cover. So we do want to help the Joes to get the drug dealers out, but we can't reveal that we're Cobra, which is a cool, subtle little trick to this whole game. And what's happening with the Eco Warriors is when they release that plasma tox, all the concentrated fluorocarbons are escaping. So that's going to hurt the ozone layer. Remember it is still a big concern, but that was the big concern of all the fluorocarbons are destroying the ozone layer, which then is leading to the global warming that we have today. But back then it was just this real fear of creating, literally making a hole right where you're standing, like in the space above you, the fluorocarbons are going to go straight up and make a big hole in the ozone right above you. And that's the embodiment of it, right? It's essentially is what was happening, but the embodiment was a lot more literally. So that's how I remember it being sold to us. he's saying, I can't neutralize the fluorocarbons with my ozone replenisher and keep the Cobra spin at the same time. So ozone wanted to fix the hole in the ozone above them. You know what I mean? Like that was kind of the science, the layman's version of the science at the time. And then Snake Eyes just knocking Slice out.
Yo, Joe!
And now we go back to that full page spread, and it's Headman with all of his headhunters, and they've sprung a trap on the DEF. And they're like on the inside of this haunted house, and they're literally trapped. Like they were waiting for them. So when they entered the haunted house, now all their guns, all the bad guys guns are drawn on the Joes.
Yo, Joe!
And now here's the full page spread for the Eco Warriors, and it's Cesspool yelling charge, and this is funny because he says the fools have let political correctness stand in the way of personal survival. So at the time, and I think it's Scott, I don't think much has changed, which is really gross and disgusting, but like wanting to protect the environment is considered was considered political correctness, which is wild. It's like, that's not political correctness. That's just, let's not destroy the atmosphere. So it's crazy how like both prescient and sad how still relevant this stuff is, albeit in comic book form. But Cesspool he has the upper hand, as well on the previous page. Headman had the upper hand.
Yo, Joe!
But now over here, it seems like Snake Eyes has the upper hand, because Snake Eyes catches his sword, which had been flipping through the air. That all happened very quickly, and Snake Eyes like never lost track of it, and he's about to kill Slice, so to speak. And now we hear someone off panel say he can't plan for the totally unforeseen.
Yo, Joe!
And now we go back to the 3 on a page for the final page wrap up here. We learn that Fred's wife is dead. That kid is sad and crying and ugly. Cutter recognizes her rifle though as a Cobra rifle. They've captured Flint, and now Flint gives them, the old name, rank, and serial number. Flint gives them his name, but he also gives them his code name. So like I always thought like they were kind of secretive. Like he should have just said, "My name's Flint. Here's my serial number." But he actually gives them -R Fairborn, which seems to be a lot. And then we see that the Red Ninja leader did not die, and he says, you didn't think a sword through my chest could really hurt somebody like me, did you? And Dice says, I know who that is. That's dum dum dum. And it says we're gonna have to wait until G.I. Joe 126 to learn who it is. Again, I haven't read these. I think I know who it is, and I think it's gonna piss me off when I learn. Don't tell me. Do not spoil it for me. Also, we actually get a tip as to when this actually came out, and it looks like it's March. So I think that means we can get on board next time with going back to the movies, because next month would be April of '92 in the movies. So maybe we'll do that. Make a little note for myself here. Now we go to the post box from the pit. We got letters here from Jay Arnold out of College Station, Texas. Kevin Prusky out of San Antonio, Texas. John Street out of Elliott, Maine. John Scott from New York, New York. Van Donnell out of Jackson, Tennessee. And Patrick Greer out of Phoenix, Arizona. Now, the cool thing about Patrick Greer, guys, I'm not saying you want to do this. I tried this, a couple months back. I sent a letter to someone who had put their address on the letter page, asking about their fan club, and I never heard back from them. I did resend it. I remember I got it sent back. I've never heard back from anyone after I resent it to a proper address. So someone got that mail and just threw it away. First of all, shame on you. Unless you became a valued listener and you just don't want to reach out, then God bless you. But shame on you if you got a personal, not handwritten, but hand-typed and signed letter and you never reached out. Shame on you. Unless you're a listener, God bless you. But Patrick Greer, I'm also looking for a pen pal, someone to share ideas and beliefs with. So if you have some ink to spare, well, you get the picture. So ladies and gentlemen, Patrick Greer, 16-4-19, 16419 North 29th Street, Phoenix, Arizona, 85032. Do we want to pen pal with Patrick Greer and see if he's still there? 16419 North 29th Street, Phoenix, Arizona, 85032. I'm not saying, please don't send him anything terrible, but how fun would that be if we started up a little pen pal thing? And it's here. It's printed in the book. So we do have a little bit of a dossier page. Now it's nothing new written. It's it's kind of just the dossier from what you would get with the toy, but it's the Brawler, which I believe we saw in action in Transcarpathia the last couple issues. It's a nice drawing. It's very technical, very squared off drawing. No real hatching or anything. It's very much what would a drawing of the toy look like. So that's cool. So it's a 2-page spread. Let's see if they keep that up with any editorship and all that stuff. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate each and every one of you. Rest in peace, Neil Adams. Rest in peace, Gilbert Cotford. And I salute all of you. So now you Joe, and Joeing is half the battle.